and issues shaping our community. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Just recently, Governor Charlie Crist signed a Senate bill into law amending the Condominium Act and the Homeowners Association statute. The changes to these laws will help struggling associations improve their financial condition. Joining us today to discuss how condo owners can benefit from these new legal changes is real estate attorney Ben Solomon. And thanks very much for joining us. These are good things for condo owners right now, right?
Absolutely.
And condo associations.
That's correct. These are exciting new laws coming out of Tallahassee that were signed into law by Governor Charlie Crist on June 1st, 2010, and will be taking effect on July 1st, 2010. And these new laws will finally give some of these associations the legal tools they'll need to start collecting past due maintenance assessments from investors and other owners who have stopped paying.
Some of the highlights of what these condo owners and associations can look forward to.
One of the new laws is that condominium associations will be able to collect double the amount from a foreclosing lender. Under the old law, they would only get 6 months or 6 months of past due assessments, or 1% of the original mortgage. Now they'll be able to get 12 months of past due assessments, or 1%, so double the amount to condominium associations, which should really help. Some of these associations are struggling so badly they are unable to pay for some of their legal necessities.
Where will this money come from?
Well, it comes from the foreclosing lender. Under the statute, a first mortgage holder gets a huge break in the amount of past due assessments they must pay at the time that they take title through their own foreclosure. So, for example, if it takes them 2, 3, 4 years or more to foreclose, they only had to pay under the old law 6 months of past due assessments. Now they'll be required to pay 12 months of past due assessments, so double the amount for these associations will really help.
All right. What's another highlight?
Additionally, both homeowners associations and condominium associations will now be able to demand the rent from any tenant living in a unit where the owner has failed to pay their maintenance obligations. So the tenant will have to pay on behalf of the owner, essentially, and if the tenant does not pay, then the association will now have an eviction right against the tenant.
So this means that the maintenance fees have to be paid?
Well, this one in particular, this law in particular applies mostly to investors, of course, because it deals with a tenant-occupied unit. But when the owner stops paying, if they have a tenant in the unit, now the tenant will have to pay the association on behalf of the owner.
What if the tenant is paying the owner and the owner is not paying the association?
Well, and that's exactly what's happening probably in most cases out there, but now the law will require that the association can directly demand the rent from the tenant, and the tenant will be obligated to do that under the new law.
Interesting. And now the maintenance fees is another issue, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, the maintenance fees are not being paid by these owners. A lot of times, as you mentioned, the tenants are unaware that the owner has stopped paying the maintenance, but this new law will help to communicate that to the tenant and now require them to pay.
And what's the other highlights?
Also, the Distressed Condominium Relief Act, which will now encourage bulk buyers and successor developers to invest with confidence in some of these distressed condominiums and homeowners communities. Until now, a lot of investors were very concerned, of course, about stepping into the shoes of the old developer and assuming all those liabilities and responsibilities. And the new law now puts some separation between that and allows them some legal protection to move forward and invest with confidence. So that's something that we really believe will be necessary to get us out of the foreclosure crisis that we're in. In fact, according to the Miami-Dade County Clerk of Court, there are currently 100,000 foreclosures in Miami-Dade County alone, so we have a ways to go before we're out of this foreclosure crisis.
And a lot of associations are taking it on the chin, and the residents that are in these different complexes where there's a lot of foreclosures, they have to make up the difference in maintenance fees.
Well, that's exactly right, and that the general rule is that associations need to be more aggressive and not count on the bank's foreclosure to do the trick for them. The banks have a very big disincentive, in fact, to foreclose units. They then assume the financial and legal liabilities and responsibilities of the unit, which they prefer not to take. And so associations in general need to be much more proactive about filing foreclosures against the owners or taking advantage of some of these new laws in order to avoid the owners who are paying having to pay an unfair share.
All right. Well, thanks very much. There's no law against being too prepared for hurricane season. Find out what you should do when your cable is not working after the storm. Head to Comcast On Demand and select Get Local. I'm Spiro Canton. Thank you for joining us.